And at this time, I'd like to again introduce our guest speaker, Mrs. Bobby Same, who heads up the Lance Corporal Eric A. Palmisano Care Package Project.
Well, thank you, Mr. Mandini, and thank you, everyone involved in this amazing presentation. Wow, you guys are awesome. I haven't seen a grade school presentation in probably 4 or 5 years, and I am so proud of all of you, as if you were each and every one of you one of my children. You memorize, you sing, you recite, but more importantly, you feel it in your hearts, and I can tell that when I look at your faces. And you sing those songs. It's very, very powerful to watch. And again, I'm very proud of you. And I thank you all for letting me be here today. I'm going to talk to you a little bit today about the Lance Corporal Eric Palmisano Care Package Project. As you can see on the screen, this is my son. His name is Lance Corporal Eric Palmisano. Eric was a Marine. He served in Iraq. He was killed in Iraq after having been there for only 2 months. This is a photo on the left of what Eric looked like before the Marine Corps got to him. And that was Eric when he graduated from boot camp in 2005. I would say he made quite a change, wouldn't you? And to be honest with you, the before picture, his hair was even longer than that. It was pretty amazing. Like many young men his age, Eric struggled with his identity. He was 25, I'm sorry. He was struggling. He didn't know at 25 years old, what do I want to be when I grow up? A lot of you have the same concerns, but you still have plenty of time to decide. He knew he wanted to go to college, which he did. He had already had a 2-year degree. He wanted to go into law enforcement and become a policeman or a detective. He just wanted to get out into the community and make a difference. But he knew he had to start with some discipline. So after thinking and praying for a long time and talking to his grandpa, who's here with us today, and with his uncle Rick, my brother, and his nephew Kevin, who are all Marines, he decided to enlist in the Marine Corps. And I think that was a good choice, because he wanted to follow in the family tradition of Marines. Now, when Eric was in Iraq, he was a truck driver. That was his, they call it MOS, that was his specialty. He drove a truck. This is a 7-ton truck. This is Eric driving the truck. You can't really make him out in the picture, but that's him driving. And on top of the truck is what they call a gunner. They drove and delivered supplies to our troops. They drove and they brought them food and gasoline and water and whatever they needed while they were fighting on the front lines. So that's what Eric did in Iraq. I know I said this before, but I just need to emphasize, my son was an amazing young man. He was only 27 years old when he died in Iraq. He was motivated to enlist in the Marines to follow the proud family tradition from his family. He chose the Marine Corps because he wanted to be the best of the best, and he was. He was in Iraq for only 2 short months before he was killed. Now, this is kind of interesting, really. When Eric was in boot camp in April of 2005, this photo was taken in March of 2006, and I apologize, but when he was in boot camp, before he went over to Iraq, he sent us an email, and he wanted to let us know that he was doing okay. He also told us that the entire boot camp experience for him was life-changing. He said that he knew there was nothing he could not accomplish in his life now that he had experienced the training that boot camp demanded of him, and it was tough. It was really tough. Most people live their entire lives without ever meeting or reaching their full potential. My son Eric, at age 25, had become the man he always wanted to be. He told us that he was proud to be a Marine, and he could not wait to begin his career as a Marine. Sadly, his life was cut short after only 13 short months in the Marine Corps. We are all very proud of Eric and what he was able to accomplish in the short time that he was a Marine. We will always be grateful to him for his ultimate sacrifice for our freedom. Now we're going to move on to something kind of cool. You see these pictures? That's my husband, Herb, who's in the front row. That's the truck that Herb drove. He's a truck driver. And that's the temperature. If you can read that temperature gauge on there, the average temperature, and sometimes it was higher, in Iraq was 127 degrees. And these trucks were primarily not air-conditioned, nor were they allowed to open the windows. Now let me explain to you a little bit about why Herb was there. He wanted to finish Eric's mission. Like I've told you a few times, Eric was only there for 2 months before he died very suddenly, and he had an 8-month deployment. Well, Herb is a truck driver, my husband, and he wanted to go over and finish Eric's mission. There were civilian companies over there helping the troops. This particular company needed truck drivers to ride along in the convoys with the soldiers to help them deliver supplies. So guess what my husband Herb, the truck driver, did? He signed up and he went to Iraq. And he drove a truck. He was there for 8 months. 2 months, actually 2 months Eric was there and died. 6 months later was the total of Eric's 8-month deployment. Herb finished that for Eric. And then he was there 2 more months before the company decided they didn't need the civilian truck drivers as much anymore because they were pulling the troops out of Iraq. So while he was there, Herb delivered supplies to the troops at many of the same bases where Eric delivered supplies. Herb was even actually he witnessed the soldiers opening care packages from home. This was very moving for him because having been a part of our care package project at home is one thing, but to go to Iraq and actually see the soldiers open the boxes we sent them, that was very moving for him. Now I'd ask if you would indulge me for just 2 minutes. I want to show you a video that Herb took while he was on a convoy in Iraq. He's describing what it's like in Iraq, what the country's like, the streets are like, and what these people live like. So here's a video of Herb driving his truck in Iraq.
This is real nasty when it's nighttime. I don't know what it's going to be like. We don't come through here too often during the day. This is where we get rocked a lot. The hole that I got a picture of in the side of my truck came in this town, but it was at nighttime. This is actually the first time I've come through here in the daytime. So. I don't know what it's going to be like. See what happens. This is the trash and stuff Eric was talking about, I assume. This is the way it looks around here, but a lot of it's being rebuilt. I guess it's all coming from our tax dollars. Anyway, I hope some good comes of the war. These people look after what they got, and bombing and putting everything out, bombing and everything. Maybe a couple of generations from now, once the kids come through school and the little girls are able to go to school and actually get an education and get a job, and just bear children, things might be a little different. This gives you some kind of idea of what we have to drive through at nighttime. And it's pretty spooky at night, especially when you can't see anything other than the dust blowing up in front, like it's blowing up in front of me right now. Anyway, I love you. Thank God for all the blessings He's bestowed upon me and my family. And I got to watch what I'm doing.
If I can I ask my husband to please stand and turn around and face you, and let's all give him a round of applause for doing what he did. Thank you, sweetheart. I love you. It wasn't easy, by the way, while he was gone, but it was something that he had to do. Okay, now we're going to talk about our care package project. That's my husband and I standing underneath a banner, one of our banners, and those are some people that have helped us with our care packaging. We shipped many care packages to Eric when he was in Iraq. The last 2 boxes, just to give you an example, to explain to you how we started this, the last 2 boxes that we sent to Eric were returned to us undeliverable. The post office put a big black X on the boxes and sent them back home. And it turned out that the reason they sent him back home was because Eric had already left on that convoy where he was killed. So my husband and I, this is just very shortly after Eric died, we looked at these boxes and we said, now, what are we going to do with this? What do we do with these? And my husband said, well, there's some personal things in there for Eric, family photos and some specific items he requested. He said, why don't we just take the personal stuff out, pack it back up again, and send it to the chaplain of Eric's unit? I said, all right, Eric always said he liked to share his stuff with everybody, so that's exactly what we did. We packed up those boxes, sent them to the chaplain, and within a week, we got an email from the chaplain saying, oh my God, the fact that you took the time to do this, you lost your son and you still did this. God called us to do this. We know that now, but we didn't know it at the time. We just thought, well, we're not going to just keep the stuff. The troops need them. We don't. That's how the project started. And we started it in May of 2006. And like I said, this is a photo, one of the many care packaging events that we've held over the years. May 2006, so 6.5 years we've been doing this. Okay, this is a photo of a care packaging event at our church. It may be the same one that you just saw, my husband and I standing under the banner. And these are some boxes that we packed up in our home. We do a lot of packaging events right in our own basement. And these are some boxes that we shipped out to the troops. We couldn't do this without our community. I know that's a fact. We don't do this by ourselves anymore. It's grown to the point where we can't. There's just too much to do. These are some more people packing up items. And then if you look on the far right, if you can see, that's in the basement of our church, our Savior's Lutheran Church, and our pastor is leading us in prayer. We're praying over the boxes. And that's something that's very powerful because it sends a message to the troops that those boxes have been blessed. Now, this is an interesting one. I don't know how many of you in the community know Caitlin Charette. Caitlin Charette, a couple of years ago, had a birthday. Everybody has birthdays, but this was a special birthday. She wanted to have a pool party at Super 8, so that's what she did. But here's the kicker. Instead of asking people to bring presents, which they typically do, she put in the invitation a list of items that our troops need and asked them to bring care package items as presents. And that's exactly what those kids did. The party room at Super 8 was packed with kids, balloons, cake, festivities, and care package items. That is a small sampling of what she collected from her friends for her birthday party. That is an example of the spirit of giving that this community has given us that's allowed us to continue our project the way we have. The photo on the right is my friend Denise Formolo, and she's helping us. We're at Farmers Market. We come there quite often when the weather's nice. That was a display we had there. Here's another example of community giving. This is a Daisy troop that had a service project, which a lot of schools and communities and organizations do. Their service project was the Care Package Project. So they collected items. That's a sign they made, but behind them are all the boxes that we packed at their Daisy Troop meeting. On the right, this is a school in Pembine. I was asked to speak to a second grade class. That's a soldier on the far right. He lives right here in our community. His name is Alex Taff. I believe by now he may very well be a sergeant. He's in Ranger School in Texas. He's a good friend of ours. He goes to our church, and he came with me to show the students some support. That's another event, many, many events. You probably have all seen us at these. This is the Veterans Tribute Ride that was held in May. I'm there with a display of our items. On the far right, Anytime Fitness had a dodgeball tournament fundraiser, and they raised money to pay for shipping for packages to the troops. So we had that at Kingsford High School, I believe that was. This is our big fundraiser of the year. We have a Texas Hold'em poker tournament every year in September, and we hold it at the Knights of Columbus. I'm not a poker player. It's not a big deal to me, but apparently a lot of men are, and they like it. And that is a big way to raise money. So we had a poker tournament at the Knights of Columbus. I didn't take photos of the poker players for obvious reasons. They didn't want their photos shared, but that room was packed. It was packed, and it was very, very successful. We were able to raise almost $3,000 from that, which is what we're going to need to pay for shipping the boxes we're going to send out at Christmas. This is a fundraiser at Family Video. They're doing it again now. If you see the sign at Family Video, it says, "Million movies for our troops." That's what they're doing, and that's what this is. And on the right, if you've ever heard of Dr. Nowicki, he's a chiropractor in our community. He holds 4 community event fundraisers a year, and we're one of them. He raised probably close to $500 he collected, and many, many, many care package items. This is a packing event that just finished up at our home. That's Dr. Nowicki on the bottom right. And that's my husband and I with Jennifer Loomis, the postmaster in Florence, delivering some of the care packages to the post office in Florence. If any of you participated in Make a Difference Day this year, back in October, there was all sorts of things going on all over town, but we were at the Dollar Tree. And we had our display booth set up, and we collected money, and we collected items, and we filled stockings with all the goodies, and then we moved them over to that bus. And we stuffed that bus. There was no room for a seat in that bus. It was full of care package items. Here's some more packages ready to ship. That's a small sampling of what we do, but you get an idea what they look like. Okay, real quick, I want to share with you, women, moms, teachers, if you ever read Woman's World magazine, the November 12 issue of Woman's World magazine every month they have Help a Hero. Can you see where it says Help a Hero? Well, every month they feature an organization that supports our troops. They contacted us and asked us if we would like to be represented for that week with our project. So they said, what's the one most important thing you think the soldiers would like? And I knew the winter was coming, so I said, probably hand warmers. So as a result of this little blurb, really, it's not even a full story, in the November 12 edition of Woman's World, which is featured in the bottom right corner there, we've received, I don't know many to count, we've received cases of hand warmers from California all the way to New York and every state in between. I'm talking cases. We probably have, 1,000 pairs of hand warmers at least, and those are going to be sent to the troops at Christmas time. Now here, I want you to see the soldiers. It's very small, it's kind of hard to see, but on the left-hand side, those are soldiers from a particular unit in Afghanistan. It was hard for me to blow this up and then you wouldn't be able to read, but all across the top, they're saying thank you for the stuff we send. Can you guys see it over there? All the items that we send them, they're saying thank you. Now these guys on the right, some of you may even recognize them. They're local soldiers. These soldiers are with the 1432nd Engineering Company, National Guard unit, out of Kingsford. They're over in Afghanistan now. They left in May, and they'll be home in April next year. And they are holding up the boxes that we've sent them. They're very, very grateful for them, and Herb can attest to that because he was there watching. These are cute pictures I got from them. I wanted to share them with you. One on the left, it says, "Will work for packages." You see that? And this one says, "Will work for packages." And the soldier's holding an empty bag, and he's shaking it in his mouth, but there's nothing in the bag. So he's trying to tell us, send more. Christmas is especially a hard time for the soldiers in Iraq. They're far away from home. They don't have any family there. They only have each other. And that's why at Christmas time, we try to emphasize, most importantly, Christmas time, to send them care packages. Because the more things they get from home, the better they feel. They're homesick. It's as simple as that. They're homesick. I want to ask you now, does anybody here, I know we asked the veterans to stand, but does anybody here, any of you students, anyone here, have any family members in the military right now? Would you stand? Why don't you go ahead and stand? Let me see. You do. All right, why don't we give a round of applause for Thank you. Mothers, fathers, brothers, sisters, family members in the military. Does everybody here know what sacrifices, especially you who just raised your hand, do you know what sacrifices the soldiers and their families make when they're serving our country? And more importantly, who can give me an example of a sacrifice? That's right. He said the mother has to take charge of the family and the household while the father is away at war. Students, yes, the young man with the red sleeve, or the young lady? Sacrifice their lives? That's right, sweetheart. That is a sacrifice, and that's what my son did. They call that the ultimate sacrifice. A sacrifice is to go overseas and serve your country. The ultimate sacrifice is when you don't come home. Yes, young lady. When you say they go somewhere that they don't know, is that what you said? And they don't come back. That's right. That's the ultimate sacrifice. Now, earlier today, Maddie Ake was talking in her beautiful essay, which featured her, by the way. I must mention that. Does everyone here know, you've seen commercials on TV for this, and this is pretty powerful. You know, especially kids. You see a soldier in full uniform, maybe at the airport or at the store or something, and they're kind of scary. You know, they're in their uniform, and they got the hat or whatever, and they're walking around, and they look pretty tough, and you don't know how to thank them. You want to thank them, but you're too shy. You don't want to say anything. Does everyone understand the sign language to say thank you to a soldier? Young, who's got the long sleeve white shirt on there? Can you stand up and demonstrate it for me? Okay, you young lady. You put your hands to your mouth, your fingertips to your mouth, and you do this. Another way is to put your hand on your chest to your heart and do this. That's all it takes. And trust me, every soldier, any soldier, will know what that means. That means thank you. So can everybody try it one time? Let's see. Let's try it from your heart. See? That's it. That's all you have to do to any uniform you see. Okay, we're winding up here now. I want to know, it's going to be hard because I can't hear you, but if anyone has any questions, if they want to just step in the aisle and talk really loud so I can hear you. Does anyone have any questions? Yes, young man. Email him. Would you tell him we said thank you for his service? Okay? Does anybody have any questions about our care package project? Yes, young man. He asked me, how much stuff do we put in a package? That's a very good question. I don't want to knock anything down here, but you see, this is a sample care package right here. Okay, this is called a flat rate priority mail box. Whatever you can stuff in this box and still be able to shut it tight, like this, It costs $14.35, as much as you can stuff in that box. When my husband and I started our care package project in May of '06, the box was a different shape, a little smaller, not much, but it cost $8.50. Now it's up to $14.35. Next month, it's supposed to go up to $15.45, which is another issue altogether. We're very unhappy that we have to spend all that money on postage, or as my husband puts it, all the money that we put on the box for postage could have gone in the box with goodies. But that's not something we have any control over. That's just the way the post office works. So, yes, young lady, question? That's another good question. She wanted to know how long it takes for a package to get over to. Now we're shipping, by the way, to Afghanistan because the majority of our troops are out of Iraq. It takes probably between 7 and 10 days when it's not a holiday season. When it's Christmas, it could take up to 3 weeks. Yes, young man in the striped shirt. During the year, we average 4 to 6 boxes a week. That depends on how much money comes in to pay for the items so we can go shopping and buy them, how many donations we received of items, which, by the way, we're blown away what you brought today, and how much money we have to pay for the shipping. Because for every box filled with items that we spent the money on, we still have to set aside money to pay for the postage. Yes, young man. It's a salute. That's a sign of respect. Okay, we're going to wrap up here real quick, and we got something really special we're going to do. Who wants to help pack up a care package? Isn't it a whole lot more fun to do stuff than to watch stuff? My husband packed up, taped up how many? 10 boxes, okay. Thanks to the generosity of each and every one of you, I don't know if you've noticed this, that table is full of items that you've all collected for our soldiers. And every single item there, they've asked for. So, we have to, I don't know how we're going to do this, but we want everybody to get a chance to come over here, possibly grab an item or two. That's all, because we only have 10 boxes assembled. Do you have enough tape for maybe the rest, or? Okay. All right. Okay, what we're going to do, you're going to start over here at this table, and you're going to pick up an item or two. Then you're going to come up on stage and drop it into a box. And we've got 5 boxes here and 5 boxes here, and then you can walk back down that stage.
Mrs. Swartout, Mrs. Bednarz, could you guys send in one roll, please? Sivany, can you send a roll?
Everybody, let's give ourselves a big hand. There's two things I want to add, and then we're going to close. First of all, a woman who works at the post office came up to me today, just now, and said, if we purchase at the post office 3, I think she said green stamps, priority stamps, it will pay to ship one of these boxes. And my husband, if you could just seal that one box up, Herb, and show everyone, we don't have to tape it, we'll just give you an idea. You've all filled a box. When you were walking by and you looked inside, you saw how all that stuff smashes inside the box? Yeah, we have thank yous from soldiers, that emails, letters, but we wanted to emphasize too, I saw a lot of you brought letters in, you wrote letters to the troops. You have no idea how much they love those. The thank yous we get, and by the way, when you leave, you can pick up one of our business cards and brochures right here, actually. Go to our website and learn about the project, learn about our son, and read the many, 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 many thank yous we get from the soldiers for the things that we do. The letters to the troops, that's the number one thing I want to make sure you all understand that. Yes, sir.
I'd just like to share one little story, real brief, what happened while I was over in Iraq. I was stationed at, a bunch of different bases, but one of the bases I was at was Camp Anaconda, and it was 15 square miles around, a huge, huge base. And we used to take buses around the base. It was that big to go to the dining facility. And then we'd have to take a bus back from the dining facility to the hooch, our place where we stayed, our tent or little hooch. Anyway, one night about 9 o'clock, I was at the bus stop waiting for a bus. And there was an Army boy, I call them boys, a man. He was sitting at the bus stop, and he was looked kind of lonely. And I just happened to say, "Where are you from, son?" You know. And he told me, and I asked him how long he'd been deployed. And he told me, and I asked him if he had been receiving any packages from home. And he said no. Well, so I gave him one of our cards. I carried them in my wallet over there, and I told him, I said, if you email my wife your address, we'll make sure you get something from home. And while we were sitting there talking, I kind of told him why I was over there. And there was a bunch of different soldiers walking by the bus stop. And we were kind of looking at them. Anyway, after I gave him the card and everything, he kind of looked up and down the street. And this is at 9 o'clock at night. And he said to me, "Do you mind if I give you a hug?" And I said, "No, not at all. But if you could picture two men at night at a bus stop," and he was looking around for other soldiers to make sure they weren't walking. But we shared a little hug, and it really meant a lot to me, and it meant a lot to the soldiers. But like my wife had said, for me to sit in front of the PX at our bases and watch these soldiers open up boxes, and they'd sit and they'd open up the boxes and they'd say, "Oh, I've got 3 of these," and they'd hand one to the soldier next to them. But to see the one that didn't have a box, that walked to the post office to get it, really touched my heart. But to see them share it, and then whatever they didn't get in the box, they went inside to the PX and bought them. But it was really special for me to be over there. And, you know, we support them here from home, but for me to be there and actually support them in Iraq meant a lot to me. And thank you all for coming today, and thank you for all these items, because each and every one of these items will mean a lot to one of them soldiers over there. Thank you all. And God bless our veterans.